Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Today we have 3 new stories for you, starting with one about an incompetent employee. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Yeah, I'm gonna need a job form for that. Many moons ago, I was working as a design engineer at a big-ish company, 300-ish employees. I worked in the design department as a design engineer. I'd receive job forms from sales and project managers and complete the drawings within the 2-day time frame and send it back. Drawings could be either done for client approval or for production. The production files always took the longest. We had some pretty hotshot sales guys who, as always, were completely up themselves. They were the most important people in the building. Screw everyone else. They were the ones the saying, "When everything is important, nothing is important," was modeled after. Everything was always in a rush and last minute. The king D of the sales team is Steve, highest sales and overall just up himself. Steve and I actually got along okay. I did most of his jobs and I was happy to circumnavigate the job form policy to help him out of a bind for jobs that would take me a short amount of time to complete. Well, it all started one day when Steve came to me and asked me for help with one of his binds, overpromising a client on time frames for drawings. I told Steve that I would do what I could, but I can't promise anything and he might need to wait for them till the end of the day. Well. Steve was not having any of this. He sent out an email to my boss, my boss's boss, the sales manager, and myself, complaining about how I was uncooperative and incompetent because I can't do this work for him. I see the email and I go straight to my boss and explain it to him that there was no job form. My boss replies to the email CCing everyone in, "What is the job form number, Steve, so we can look this one up and see where it's at?" Well, obviously, Steve couldn't come up with a number because, shock, horror, he didn't have one. Crap blew over. I got in no trouble and Steve was given a stern talking to. Malicious compliance comes in the next day. Steve comes up to me all happy and cheery, asking about my weekend, complimenting my shirt, and of course asking if I could get this job done for him quickly for client approval. Honestly, it would have taken me 10 minutes, but I replied, "Yeah, no worries, just chuck in a job form and see how it goes." Steve's face kind of scrunches up and I could see he wanted to have a go at me, but he walks off and into my boss's office. I hear them start to yell and Steve leaves his office fuming. 5 minutes later, I get an Outlook notification of a new job form from Steve. And our second story. Fire the IT guy a week before my wedding? Good luck without me. I worked for a small ISP, think 2 owners and 6 employees, in a college town years ago. This was before Wi-Fi was really much of a thing, but it wasn't a big deal because a lot of the apartment complexes we had contracts with had been wired, at our expense, with CAT's Ethernet into each apartment. In some complexes where we hadn't deployed wiring to each unit, we tried to offer wireless service using original Cisco 802.11a/b access points. I had previously worked at a call center doing Win9X tech support with Convergys on a contract with Microsoft, and during high school, I'd been the network administrator for a small nonprofit run by a friend of the family. I was hired to do phone tech support for the ISP based on my background, but when it was slow or they needed an extra pair of hands, I was often co-opted into going out on service calls into the apartments of the students that were our customers, or into manual labor-type projects at the office like making Ethernet patch cables. I also worked most weeknights on an on-call basis, which support calls would be routed to my personal cell phone, but only I received a token amount of compensation since I wasn't working 100% of the hours that I was on call. But hey, it was a bit of extra income above the 40 hours at $9 an hour I was getting paid. One Friday, I was using my lunch break to make some calls at my desk regarding a car accident I was in and sorting things out with insurance, etc. 2 of my coworkers were in the same area I was, and we had all been making patch cables all effing day. On Monday, one of the owners asked me into his office immediately after I arrived and informed me that I was being fired. This a-hole knew that I was getting married the following week and took the opportunity to cut me loose before I could take advantage of any PTO for the wedding and my honeymoon. When I pressed him as to why he'd made this decision, he indicated that the other owner saw me making phone calls and surfing the internet while my 2 other coworkers were making patch cables. I informed him I was taking my lunch break by eating at my desk and making phone calls on my personal cell phone so I wouldn't use company equipment for non-work purposes. He didn't care and gave me the boot anyway. One of the complexes we served was notorious for a very high incidence of Wi-Fi outages, as a significant portion of the units had not been wired yet. I was aware that my employer was in hot water with the complex management company for all the complaints coming from student tenants regarding the lack of reliability of their only option for broadband internet. I'd been out to do a number of on-site service requests at this particular complex, and I was very familiar with its network architecture and equipment locations. I remained friends with my former coworkers, and for weeks after my termination, they continued to lament having to take support calls during the day. They also told me about all the angry customers leaving voicemails almost every night after hours, while no one had replaced me to take after-hours support calls, and that the two owners had the calls routed to their cell phones, but mainly ignored the calls or turned their phones off each evening. At around 1 a.m. one night a few weeks after my termination, I drove into the parking garage section of our notoriously complaining complex with 800-plus units, ensured there were no security cameras and no one was watching, then quickly entered each of the unlocked equipment closets and unplugged both ends of every single one of the patch cables and replugged some of them back in random ways and left the rest on the floor. I quickly and quietly exited the closets, but before I left, I turned off the electrical power breakers in each closet and installed padlocks that I threw away the keys for, where they previously were missing on each access door. Every time I think back, oh, what must have happened after it brings a smile to my face. I feel bad for the students that lost their internet access for a night, but I take comfort knowing that the owners of the company likely got dozens and dozens of calls, or woke up to dozens and dozens of angry voicemails, and while they were phone system knowledgeable, none of the cables, patch panels, or switches in our complexes were ever labeled, let alone documented anywhere. They had to fix that crap all by themselves. And our last story. Karen blackmailed me, now she doesn't have a job. Cast: store employee Karen, me OP, my boss MB, building owner BO. So let me set the scene. I'm a security officer with redacted security company. I work in a refurbished office building that was been made into a bunch of stores. I have been with this company for almost 8 years, so I have a great professional relationship with the BO, clients, and all the store owners. Now, I'm generally a good guy and am relaxed about the rules as long as 1. Your space doesn't get out of hand, 2. I'm needed or be called for a complaint. This particular day, I received a complaint of loud music, so I'm following procedures and walk the floors and find the source. As I get to the 3rd floor via stairs, I can already hear the music on the floor. It's the new nail salon. I decide to go to the restroom, and on my way back, I calmly knock on the door of the salon and am greeted by SM. The conversation went like this. Me: I'm sorry to bother you, but I received a noise complaint. I know it's the weekend and not a lot of people are here, but I have to ask you to lower the volume, please. Oh, okay, no problem. I didn't think it was too loud. Thank you for your cooperation. She then shuts the door in my face. Rude, but okay. So I continued to the other floors and didn't hear any more music, so I returned to the security desk. About 40 minutes later, Karen comes up to the desk I'm sitting at, and this is the conversation that follows. You're a liar! Excuse me? You said you got a complaint against me. I just went up all the floors and nobody said they complained about me. I'm sorry, ma'am. You misunderstood what I said. She cut me off before I could explain. Don't try to backtrack now. You're a liar, and I'm going to get you fired for harassing me. I called my boss, and she's calling BO. I'm sorry you feel that way, but I need for you to return to your workstation as you're causing a scene in front of clients. And if not, I'll have no alternative but to walk you out of the building, as the site has a zero-tolerance policy for these kind of events. I'm so going to get you fired for this. And storms off to the elevators. About an hour later, I get a conference call from MB and BO. MB: Morning, OP. I'm on a conference call with BO, and we received a wild complaint about you misbehaving on site and just want to get your side of things before we decide on what to do next. BO: I agree, as the allegations against you were really out of character, and I have confidence in your performance in representing both our interests. So I give them a rundown on everything that happened and how I handled it. BO: That sounds more like you. However, it's now he said, she said, and she claims you forced your way into her workspace and was yelling at the top of your lungs to turn the music down while yelling obscenities and racist remarks at her in front of her clients, and how you threatened her life if you had to come back up there. She says she feels like her life is endangered as long as you're working so close to her, and clients said she was telling the truth. Now I was PO'd. As a safety precaution, a while back, I bought a body cam that's connected to my cell phone, and guess what? After the conference call was over, I remembered that I turned on my cam and it had been recording since before I clocked into work. When I checked, I struck gold, because not only did I have a recording of the interactions with Karen, so after reviewing my audio-video footage, mostly to get start and end points of all the interactions I had with Karen, I called MB back. Me. Hey boss, I forgot about my body cam and how I could prove what I was saying. MB. Really great. Send me an email and a copy of the footage for me to review. Me. Okay, sir. And do I have permission to contact BO and let her know? If you want to, I'll be calling her after reviewing the footage too. So I called BO and told her about my body cam and how I could prove my innocence. I could literally hear her perking up as she responds with BO. Perfect. Send it to me ASAP. My email address is redacted, and the time notations I should look at. Fast forward 2 hours later, and who comes wobbling out of the elevators in tears, in a sobbing mess, with a box with her stuff in it, with her head down, doing the waddle of shame as she's being escorted out of the property by the police? It's Karen. Later, I find out that BO called the salon owner and was livid that her employees were causing such a scene and got her clients involved with the incident against me, and how that was unacceptable. While BO didn't have the power to fire SM, but BO made it clear she's now banned from the building and all its resources. Reminder, the salon owner thought that Karen called the shots inside the salon. Her butt answered to her once she steps out of that salon. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.